You are live.
Thank you. I'm Steve Holyfield, Chair of the CAPC. Welcome to the CAPC Workshop. It's August 13th, 2025, 6 p.m. here at the Eureka Springs Auditorium basement. This is a workshop, not a meeting, so we'll not be deciding anything or voting on anything. We don't need a quorum. Present tonight is, though, Heather, Colin, Shira, myself, Ty, Mike, and Danielle. And in the audience, we have Colton Scribner, who's not voted on the commission yet, but should be next week from Monday. So everything should be going good. All right. So revised funding request guidelines is number one on our agenda for this workshop. Who wants to take it?
I think we'll let Danielle. She's been crafting this for a while.
Danielle.
As they both chuckle. Okay, so chime in if I miss anything, because the three of us have like forms back and forth over the past several weeks, and we still have a draft. It's not perfected. So what we have done is tried to condense the wording, try to make it not as wordy, but still very clarifying on common questions and issues that are a pattern of missteps or overlooked details of requirements. And so on the guidelines, that's the one that it took us the longest and lengthiest to scrutinize and reword. So we are looking for constructive input and observations. If it seems to cover what y'all think it should, I know that everybody knows once you look at something 500 million times, you tend to get tunnel visioned. I'm sure there is something we may have missed.
Funds cannot be used for include but not limited to.
Correct.
It's nice you listed these things, but I bet people could come up with a few more on there. So.
Right, and we did end up having to reword some of it because it did come across confusing, and then there were a couple of things added because issues had come up. But those were separated on previous forms. Funds can be used for it and funds cannot, so we put those right together.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the way that it's bulleted out. I would say under guidelines to maybe do that too, just because there's so much text on item number 4.
Bullet it.
Yeah.
Would help it.
I think so, if others agree.
I'll see if I can, yeah.
I will say I like the separating the requests to 4 meetings a year instead of every meeting have a few of them.
So that's what I was hoping y'all would zero in on. We all, that is one thing. So here's the major adjustment that the public would need to go ahead and make the adjustment planning for 2026 would be those activities or those events such as, I'm going to name them, the most commonly are the Mardi Gras, the Chocolate Fest, the Fiber Fest, that's all in that January, February, March. But then even come April, springtime in the Ozarks, the Out in Eureka, Steampunk, because those are in April, they need to go ahead and grab their applications and be prepared to present them to us in January so that y'all can vote, or in November, those February and March events need to be taken care of in November of 2025 so that they're done. And then that April, the latest that they can get in is February. They can't wait until March like had been to kind of slip in. So there's an adjustment where we can't wait. They're going to need to know that February, the 4th Wednesday of February, the 4th Wednesday of May, the 4th Wednesday of August, the 4th Wednesday of November are the only meetings that funding requests will be remitted, and they have to be at least 2 months ahead of an event start. So the event organizers really need to pay attention to that. It'll be an adjustment because they're used to being able to just slip right in.
I think that if we send emails to
Yes.
the email list and reminders, we have 5 months, 4.5 months left in the year.
Right.
It's very fair. I have a quick question, and forgive me because it's been a long day. If somebody comes in November for funding so November 25, and they come for funding for January 26, how are we providing that funding? Are we going to just debit that from the 2026 budget if we haven't approved a budget?
No,
Okay.
It would come out of 25, so it's part of this year's budget,
Okay, even though it's funding a 2026 event?
yes. So anything approved this year comes out of this year's budget.
Okay, and that's legal. We're allowed to do that. I just want to make sure. Okay.
It is legal.
Okay.
It's not a legal issue, it's more of a budget guideline.
It's like a tax. It's okay.
We recognize the expense and create a liability for that.
Yeah, okay.
And then once it's used, we decrease the liability.
Cool.
I have some concern about the meetings being used for funding requests. If we bring, usually most of our meetings, we have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 funding requests. It takes up quite a bit of time, 4 months out of the year. Or
I
So
was thinking
You would
workshop.
need to, well, you've got to, because at a workshop, you can't vote. It's not,
Right.
Well, then it would have to not
but
be
you
a
would have to
workshop.
call special meeting.
Right.
Well, in the past, this is something that has come up, and what had been done kind of somewhat successfully is a workshop would be basically the venting, or if you will,
Planning.
sort of the
Presentation?
Discussion.
presentation of the proposal or whatever. And that way, the commission could go ahead and kind of mull it over and say, well, okay, this looks good. So when the official meeting comes to pass, it takes about a minute, well,
Okay.
Joe requested $5,000, yes or no?
So do the discussion at the workshop and do the voting at the meeting,
Yeah.
which gives them more time if they didn't have something to bring it back to us. What do y'all think of that?
That's efficient.
Yeah, I like that. How many did we have for 2024 funding requests that were granted?
Say that again?
2024 or this year?
You should have a print in your past meetings section of your notebook.
Because if it's just a issue of having regular business on top of those 4 meetings,
In
we could
2024, there were 29.
29. So that'd be 6 per meeting if it was equally divided, if we did into 4. So I could see that being an issue if we had a
Yeah.
regular business to take care of on top of 6 funding requests that could constrain things.
Yeah, and the funding request is their presentation, which sometimes can run a while,
Which
and
I-
then our discussion of it.
Yeah, I like that this says they have 3 minutes to present, and then I think if we have questions, we can ask.
Right.
But having them, trying to hold them to that time limit
Right.
will help streamline.
So we like the idea of them presenting and having Q&A at the workshops
Right.
of the specific months. And then the voting and approval or denial can happen at the regular meeting, just like
Yeah.
clockwork. Yep, okay.
I like that.
And I agree with what Steve said to underscore, if we do need something supplemental, that gives them 2 weeks to get it together and give it to us. We can still vote, but it should be a quick exchange or quick,
Right.
provision of, here you go, this is what you asked for.
Great point. The other thing that we made sure to specify was that all of this is also available online on our visiteurekaSprings.com partners page. So that is something that wasn't really specified or welcomed on the form prior. So that's also described, that that is available and it can be remitted online in that same submission area.
Okay.
It looks so much, I just think it reads so much nicer, Danielle.
Does it?
Thank you. It really
Good,
does.
thank you.
Yeah, this is leaps and bounds.
I don't know how you make number 9 bold print, all of it, so it's like, how many times people go like, oh, I didn't know I have to put, it's like,
I'd like to take credit, but it was already there. We, however, did change up the message.
However, if you can't read the instructions
I
and
know.
follow through, then you don't get your reimbursement, I mean,
I
that's
do want to come back and kind of bullet
It's a bummer.
point the number 5, the legacy events. We'll discuss that. We'll come back to that. But so looking at the guidelines, so the next draft is the actual application. We didn't do anything really except we're trying to thread the same logo on all of the forms so that we know when it was revised. It's all revised at the same time frame. So that really, the only major, and I say major, the only tweak that we did was at the very bottom of the back page, the contact info, it was way out of date, and so we updated it.
You might add that at one point, we weren't accepting anything via email, and we are now.
Correct. Yeah, it said, we will not accept applications via email. Well, we took that off.
Could we add, I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
where, the signature is
Yes.
request submitted by, could we add something, a sentence that just says, and I acknowledge that I have received or I have read and I will abide by the guidelines for funding support?
So that is, so go past the CAPC funding score sheet. The next thing, this was put together, I think, a year ago. It's the funding request marketing checklist, and that, I don't know that it's, now that we're doing all these revisions, I don't know that it's necessary. But then it might be. It might be just that next step.
yeah, I like this.
I like
I
it
like it
too.
too.
I think the only thing that might have to go away or be is, well, maybe keep number 5 in there, but they know they have to present it at a workshop. Maybe just more clarity around that number 5, but I like it.
I like it too, because people
Okay.
just don't read.
Yeah.
I mean, the other document is lovely, but will people read it and take it seriously, where this makes sure that you're hitting the highlights and you're agreeing to it?
We may remove number 6, doing the carried over into another year,
Because you may have to.
because because of the way that we do accounting now, that's really just an unnecessary messaging. So what was it that you what was it that what was your message on that, on the repeat of the number 6?
Oh, I was just going to change that to market support funds may only be used for this event and not any other.
I like that.
Applied to this event only.
Well, and especially if we're only approving things on a quarterly basis, some things are going to roll to the next calendar year.
Right.
And that's going to cause people to have concerns and confusion.
Yeah, I think that's a confusing one.
Number 7, I think you should put, my organization must be present at the market support funds or allocated for funding requests. And then for the workshop and then for the meeting to update the change that we made. And also make real clear that turning the application in isn't enough. They have to be there to present both times.
I had some question about the wording of that, too. Are we wanting them to be present when the funds are allocated?
No.
Or do we want them to be present when it is voted upon or when the decision is made that they qualify?
When it is
That's
being
kinda different.
considered. Yes.
Because I think that reads
Yeah,
oddly.
when we discuss it and then when we vote on it, they should be here, I think.
Yeah, I think-
In case we have last-minute questions.
Yeah, at least one representative from
Yeah.
the entity, yes. Okay, making notes.
A couple things. On the post-event summary, there is a typo at the bottom for office use only.
Okay, wait a minute, on which one?
Post-event summary.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're so ahead of the game.
I'm sorry.
You're
I like it.
advancing without us.
Okay, that's the last one. Where's it at?
It's on the bottom for office use only. Just a little, sorry.
Yep, see it.
I would like to bring up entertainment district. It's kind of a little side topic, but if they're going to do a post-event summary and we're paying for people to advertise their events, I'd like to know a little bit more about the event itself. And the post-event summary doesn't include whether they got an entertainment district, where the entertainment district was located, and things like that. Not a very big detail and kind of like a side story to what we're doing, but it would be nice if we're going to do all of this to have that information in there for future reference.
So maybe in that, we can just, up there in the middle, above the narrative, we can put entertainment district or not.
Like
If yes,
entertainment,
please
yeah.
describe below.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice because entertainment district has come up a lot, and I think it's going to come up a lot more in the near future, especially with I've been talking to Damon and the city about the current temporary entertainment district, and we do have a indefinite temporary entertainment district right now.
There's no time limit.
Exactly. And so we're trying to figure out logistics and other things like that, but I think it's going to be a more prominent thing in the future. So getting the jump on having things like this, and I know Marshall up at Pine Mountain, he's wanting to make that an entertainment district, and he always has entertainment districts there for the events that they hold there. So it'd be nice just to get a little bit more intel about the specifics of the event and whether entertainment districts are helpful or not helpful and what kind of return they can get.
Do we want to add that to the actual application? If an entertainment district might be planned for this event?
I think the
Wouldn't that be a
post-event
question?
summary
Is
would be
that
a good place
applicable?
for it.
I don't think that's necessary because I don't think that should make our decision on whether we give funds.
Right,
But it would be nice to have that until after the fact.
after the fact?
Is there-
After the fact? After we decide?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that whether they have an entertainment district or not should have anything to do with whether they get marketing
Right.
support.
I see your
So I
point.
don't think it should be in the application.
Yeah, that's
But I
fair.
think having it a first summary, which is mostly intel for us, would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, post-summary, post-event summary.
entertainment districts basically have to go through city council anyway. So, that's a documented thing as you go forward. I think to Colin's point, though, historically, if you go back 3 or 4 years and you want to find out the success of an event or whether or not it worked, you can always go back and take a look and see. But I think that the entertainment district as a sort of a topic right now is still very unusual. And, and I think the addition of other venues and so forth for those entertainment districts is going to play a part of that. So if there's another, for instance, another restaurant that opens up on Spring Street or wherever, it doesn't make a difference, and all of a sudden it's just within a few feet of the boundary, is that going to cause a problem? I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here, but I've paid enough attention to council meetings where the entertainment districts have been brought up. They got very, very contentious. So
It's a hot topic.
It is a hot topic,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm trying to approach it lightly.
Well, politically, it's a good thing to approach, really. But I think that, where we have seen that pattern, I think it's more open than it has been. But on the same token, if you read the language, it's lawyer versus lawyer, literally.
I think we should probably stay out of it as much as we can.
Right, and
That's why post-event is fine.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it on the application. You don't want people showing up to go, I'm opposed to this event because of
Right.
that. So they don't want us to give funding for it because there's an entertainment district involved.
On the post-event summary report, there have been a couple, like Carving in the Ozarks, diversity, I think Zombie Crawl. There have been like supplemental reports that people have provided extra data. Maybe there could just be a quick line like, you're welcome to provide supplemental data, but maybe keep it to X amount of pages because we don't need a 100-page report either.
Attached.
I leave that to I defer to you on that, but just maybe something like feel free to provide more than, this isn't a lot of room.
Yes.
Feel free to provide more.
Feel free to attach.
Yeah, attach, et cetera.
I have a question, and I'll throw this out at you. In the guidelines, basically, it says right up front that all these things are FOIA-able, if you will. When we get into a post-event report, is this going to be a FOIA'd document?
Is it FOIA-able now
I think
when
so.
they give us?
Yeah. I'm not sure why
I
it wouldn't
think it
be.
is.
I don't
You're
think-
getting public funds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty FOIA-able. And honestly, I'd like all of our funders or
It goes in my
fundees
file.
to be nonprofits, which is FOIA-able anyway. You don't even have to do a FOIA, you just ask them, and they're supposed to give it to you. I mean, I would prefer that all of our fundees be nonprofits. That not even be a question of whether you are a nonprofit or not. Be like, here's your nonprofit number, and if you're not a nonprofit, go do your business. Be a business, make your money, but nonprofits, come on. That's my opinion.
That's the goal. but
I
it's
mean,
not.
that's the, like, if you're,
But
I'm
that-
going to throw out Eureka Live. I mean, they're doing their diversity weekend or whichever weekend it is, and they're trying to say
Right.
that they're not a nonprofit, but they're making all of, like, they're making a bunch of
actually-
money.
They actually actually have a 15-board nonprofit.
So that's
see, that's
diversity.
perfect.
Yeah.
And
Diversity does, but Pride does
Pride.
not.
Pride is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's
No,
like,
Pride-
and
Pride
I'm
has
just
a
using
I
them as an
stand
example
corrected.
because I remember that
they are-
from last year.
Yeah.
But like, in my opinion, you should be a nonprofit if you're going to approach this board
But
with
then
a
there's,
funding request.
but then you've got like the Elvis organizers and
That's a different,
which
that's a
are-
whole different workshop topic.
there's a different, yeah. There's a different, because we have like a community of people that just have a passion for something and they want to do a themed weekend, and so they're not necessarily,
That's going to get a lot of tax collectors up
Yep.
in arms who want to come
Yeah.
up with their own things to drive tourism to Eureka.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, you could team with
So
a
it's-
nonprofit, but like, there's a lot of ways.
It could be a
to
goal.
do it because, like, Jeep Jam, for example, like all of their profit
Right.
goes to a nonprofit.
right.
So like, they aren't necessarily a nonprofit, but they are benefiting a nonprofit. And
Correct.
so,
Who is that?
Jeep Jam.
Jam.
Oh, GJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's, I mean, in my opinion, like, if you're nonprofit, that's what we're here for.
It
But
helps.
if you're here to make money, I mean,
Again, I
you're
think-
already making money. and
Sort
you're
of
asking-
I think this is a whole different workshop topic.
Yeah.
That could be really tough too, though, because nonprofits do indeed profit. I mean,
Set
you're-
that open
This
can
is
to
a whole,
the
this is
side.
a whole
and
different
we'll come
workshop
back to
topic.
It is a whole different
That's
workshop
tough.
topic, but-
Let's put that on the shelf for now.
Okay, so the addition to this packet, so let's back up to the funding support sample advertising guide. So we were talking, there are sometimes, some of these don't know where to start. And so they just do what they are familiar because they see in the community. Oh, we'll do the paper, we'll do the guide, we'll do this magazine, we'll do, the socials. They don't realize that there's other choices. And so we were talking about perhaps this might be a good tool for the applicants to have upon approval, just to help give them a start of what may be out there and available. And Mike sat down and was like, oh, I got this, and typed it right out. And so, but this is just a sample, thus the caveat at the bottom
This
to
is
read.
great.
Yes.
Well, the point being is that I'd like to know when somebody comes in and requests, whether it's $10 or $5,000, how are you going to spend it? Tell me what your marketing plan is. And I think that, there's a little bit of a problem in the post-analysis. Well, we decided to try this, try this, try this, try this. Go ahead and put it together before you come to us. Let us know how you're going to spend your money or the money. And if you have a question, you don't understand something, then let's go ahead and talk through it first before you come in and do that. But this is just really, just literally simple stuff. So we're going to do a brochure, we're going to do a rack card, we're going to do a little radio here and there, we're going to go ahead and try to go ahead and maybe do some direct mail with this if we can afford to do it. And then the other side of it is we would probably want to know, again, per the guidelines, is 50% of that money going outside of the market where it's supposed to go. And I think the other part of that is don't load up on any one thing. In other words, don't put all of your money into 2 print ads because it's easy to do that. And I think that's where some people have fallen down and gotten in trouble in the past. And they're going, well, we tried to stretch the money, then we had to pull it out of our own pocket. So this just helps.
So including Ariel,
Or auditory, like ear.
so that's spelled right? Okay. I've never seen it spelled like that.
Yep.
Never seen it spelled out, I guess. And terrestrial, streaming or connected. Got some interesting words on there, Mike.
Okay.
He's in the voiceover business.
Well, this all comes part of my life, I suppose. That's, what I've done forever.
So that'll help guide and give people and kind of break the shell and help them see a vision for what is out there. And it's not limited to. This is to hopefully spark and get them to pursue other, because there's more. I would say, I would love to know in our community who does printing. It would be awesome for us to know who does printing here locally other than Kate at Wicker Walker, who
Perhaps
is
we could compile a
awesome.
list of resources, maybe.
But we don't know everybody. It's changed over the past year because printers have gone down and they've stayed down, or they've just chosen they've got other things going on and they can't. And so we don't know who all really we could point our locals to maybe spread the love in business, and that'd be awesome. So those that are listening, if you do printing, contact the
Calvin at Rock
CAPC.
Shop, I think.
He stopped.
Oh, he did.
He retired, I think. But a lot of people are just going online now and ordering it.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't keep it local.
I know.
But like for banners and that type of thing, you can't,
There's like Gypsy Graphics.
Well, the office store does banners, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Eureka My Office will do print jobs.
We give-
Gypsy Graphics, who else? There's quite a few.
I don't know about Gypsy Graphics, so.
Oddly enough, you can go on Amazon and send your information in today, you'll have it in 2 days.
There is that.
And whatever you want, semi-tractor trailer full, and I'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then the reimbursement form, that's already kind of been in play. And this system has worked well. It's the second to the last form. This system has worked well thus far. We've been using it since March, I would say, or maybe April. But the approved event organizers have been remitting their receipts for reimbursement utilizing this form, and so far, so good. So this is staying definitely in play.
I think this works best since Ty came on board.
I have a question. This, it prompted, so it says, list advertising expenses not paid directly by the CAPC for the funded event. What is an example of something that we would pay, or the CAPC would pay directly?
The papers.
Yeah, mainly local advertisers, the papers and Wicker Walker. They'll send us those invoices directly.
Okay.
And then they know to send us an invoice and the tear sheet of the ad, because they're familiar with our entity and our requirements. And we can tell them, yes, this is approved. We can look at it. We can tell them, nope, we didn't do this group. And, we've done it that way.
On the sample, could there just be a line that mentions local papers bill CAPC directly? Or somewhere, just, it may, I don't know, it doesn't have to be on the guidelines, but I meant the funding support sample advertising guide, or somewhere, just so that I know people who've worked with CAPC in the past probably know that.
Right.
But new requesters may not.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even know that, so.
I learned today, TIL, today
Yeah.
I learned.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So is that the only thing that the CAPC funds before they turn in their reimbursement requests?
Do we do it before?
Well,
It just depends on the time.
If the local paper is putting an ad a month before, they'll send us the
Sure.
invoice and we'll pay it.
Sure.
And I have a spreadsheet that keeps track of all the different events and what gets spent on each one to keep track of their balance and what they have left. And so if they spend, if they get approved for 5,000, they spend 3,000 on ads that we pay directly, that leaves only 2,000 for them to be reimbursed
Sure.
for other expenses.
Yeah, I think having a line item for that would be nice because it'll help people not have to come up with that money to prepay and then get reimbursed later. They can
Yes.
just go ahead and start advertising.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I made a note on that.
I think reimbursement deadline's kind of funny, because isn't that really just more dependent on if people turn in their receipts in a timely fashion?
There's one caveat to that, though, and I will say,
I mean,
in the case of,
saying.
We're laughing because we debated this for a week.
in the case of Meta, Facebook, Instagram, as you are basically buying those ads, you've got to go ahead and pay for them.
Yeah.
So they're going to hit your card one way or the other. But what we need is that performance affidavit back, so that when the bill does come back to us, and we can go ahead and verify that, yeah, you did run all these, in Facebook or whatever you run. That's the only thing that
I guess I'm just confused.
Facebook won't
'cause
bill
they-
us, but they'll bill you.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is then it's my responsibility to submit those documents to you if I want my refunded monies back.
Correct.
So it's sort of like really on me more than it is like, hey, CAPC, I
Correct.
want my money tomorrow.
All right, anything else?
Do we think it'd be a good idea to have our lawyer look over, like the checklist or the application? I mean, it is kind of a legally binding document. We're tying our hands saying that we'll pay you under the expectation that you use it correctly, and they're supposed to understand that our documentation says how to use it correctly. And so if there's an argument or a difference, I mean, that'd be settled in court. So we can go ahead and send this to him and just bypass that, or at least get it where it's, yeah.
It's a good thing for their associates to go ahead and review. So, yeah, it's a good idea.
So
They're
send it to the lawyer
paralegals,
Yeah.
you know.
for review.
Anything else? We good?
Great.
Colton, you have anything to add?
I know, I wanted to know too.
That's what,
More than 3 minutes worth.
Sorry,
it's a workshop.
it's a workshop.
I mean, I can if you'd like.
Sure, come on up.
As an outside perspective.
Yeah.
As a
that
citizen,
Applies. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I took some notes here as you guys were going through it and as I was reading through it. Let me pull them up. So I guess we could start with the reimbursement because that's the last thing I had here.
Okay.
When you get an invoice from Facebook or Instagram, if you run 2 ads at the same time, it'll put partial, and they run for more than a month, it'll put partial invoices for multiple ads on one invoice. How do you want applicants to put that on here as one line? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes.
I'm running into that problem right now. So I've got 3 or 4 ads running maybe, and they're set to run, $10 a day for 2 months, let's say. Over the course of the first month, I might get an invoice once I hit my maximum $400 or $500 or whatever it's set at. I'll get an invoice, they'll charge my card, but it'll have partial amounts for 4 or 5 different advertisements on there, and I'm not sure how to actually put that on this.
Are you talking about for the same event or different events?
Same event, yeah. So maybe I have one advertising to Springfield, one advertising to Little Rock, one advertising a separate part of that event to a different place entirely.
I would say you just do a line item by invoice.
By invoice?
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to by ad.
Just include in your documentation the
Oh, yeah,
the
I just
detail.
like last year I just printed out the invoices. It's
Right.
just that they have kind of a mixed bag of stuff on them. There's not like one advertisement
Right, and
type per invoice.
that's fine.
Okay.
But you could sort them by date.
Sorry?
You could sort it by date, so it'd be this date I was invoiced this much by.
Sure. Yeah. It's just that
So-
invoice has like multiple
Yeah.
different
Right.
things on it, and they're never like full invoice, never a full amount for an ad. It's usually
Right.
like partial for multiple of them.
Well, that doesn't matter, I don't think, as according to the reimbursement request, because it's all for the same event.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about you guys, I guess, reimbursing it or having the right documentation
Right.
showing that I spent it. It's more about just documenting it on this
Right.
form,
Yeah.
line by line. Like line items are a little weird on those invoices.
I would do it by invoice
By-
total. That
okay,
way,
by invoice total.
That way, that line on the here can be
Yeah.
verified with the
That was my question.
documentation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I wasn't sure how to phrase that, but
So maybe we have
That's good.
invoice number or receipt number on here?
Well, they don't always have an invoice number, but
Maybe
could.
not applicable.
it hadn't really been an issue in the past. But
usually the amounts or like the dates will match up pretty
Right.
close. I just did like invoice date and the amount, and you can match
Yeah.
it pretty easy, but it does have multiple different things on it.
and that's fine.
Okay. As someone who organizes a big event and kind of a smallish medium event, I have no idea how to estimate attendees or how many nights they spent here.
Fair.
Like, I cannot give you an accurate estimate of Zombie Crawl attendees. I can give you an accurate estimate of the film festival because I sell tickets. I cannot tell you how many people attend Zombie Crawl. I can guess, or I can ask the police and they can guess. But
I think generally speaking, that's kind of a given in these instances where we recognize the fact that, Zombie Crawl is going to have 12,000.
You
We
could take
know
a different event, for example. I mean, like a smaller, like Steampunk was new this year. I don't know how they would estimate how many people came. There were 3 events on that weekend. How do they know how many people came for their event or how many nights they stayed?
Well, I think the key is maybe a little bit of the generalization. In other
Yeah.
words, if they come in and say we had 100,000 people show up, but we know there was 12, we'll see that.
Sure,
We'll
sure.
know. I think there's a little bit of reality more than anything else. In the post-analyses, it helps, again, going back historically and taking a look at an event that says, wow, in 2018, Zombie Crawl had 6,000 people. 5 years later, it doubled in
Yeah.
numbers, and that's just a good historical record, if anything else.
I guess forecasting is difficult though. So on the sheet, you're supposed to forecast how many nights they'll stay and how many people you will have. And for a ticketed event, it's a little bit easier, but even difficult then. Like I sold a bunch of tickets kind of in the last, after I applied for the funding because I was advertising for it. And so my estimate should have gone way up, right? Just something to note that I always struggle with that. I don't know what to put on those when I fill them out.
There is one thing that does help, though, a little bit, and it doesn't happen very often here just because of the layout of the land, so to speak. But if you have a host hotel that is basically
For like
the
a
head
conference.
sponsor, you can
Yeah.
go ahead and say, well, gosh, we've got room nights booked. That basically just says, okay, we've got something going on with this event. Versus something else where, it may bring in a lot of people, but we don't necessarily know where they're all going to stay either. So.
Yeah. Okay.
So one thing about that too, it's, anticipated, and it is a guesstimate.
Yeah.
Most definitely, it's a best guess.
Yeah.
We kind of want to encourage the post-event surveys
Yeah.
for organizers. So, and to include, you attended this, did you stay in town?
Yeah.
If so, tell us about it,
Yeah.
How many nights?
Gather that information so that moving forward, we can get a more accurate guesstimate.
Yeah.
Every year's always going to be a hopeful
Sure.
guesstimate.
I will say that's also really hard to get though.
It is. It is.
Like I don't have time to ask people like on Zombie Crawl how many
Right.
people, like where they came from or how many nights they're staying. If I can find a volunteer to do that, I'll try. But that's an
I think the
additional like
ticketed-
thing
Low
that's difficult to
priority.
do.
Yeah, I think the ticketed events, like
Ticketed,
there's
yeah, much
one-
easier.
Yeah, and so to your point, I think you raise a good point that if the event is ticketed, is this a ticketed event? And we do ask like, are you profit, whatever. But perhaps there is, I don't know, an expectation there because some event organizers of ticketed events in their registration do ask, are you a local? Yes or no? If you're coming from out of town, are you staying in a hotel or an Airbnb? How many nights? And they are providing that data to us. And so I do think that that's something that we should say, can you add to your registration form if you're ticketing an event? It's voluntary. I don't think we have to make it a requirement, and I'm not
Right.
trying to imply that,
No.
but I think we could encourage it.
Well, you should encourage it and tell them it's good for them, right?
Exactly.
Like I didn't do that the first year for the film festival, and I don't know if I did this year or not for whether or not like where they came from. But it's great data to have, and it's pretty
Yeah.
easy if you use Eventbrite to add in
Yeah.
a couple of questions.
And it is, I mean, it's just great, like you said, it's great to have the data. I know I've been a little bit pushy about it with some of the event organizers, but when they're coming and say, I mean, listen, and this isn't because it's you standing here, we all know, the entire community knows, I was at Zombie Crawl last year, I could not get out of downtown. Like, there's going to be no hotels. If I go online and I look, we know. And so I think that, there's kind of like the we know, and then there's, hey, can we find out more?
Yeah.
I'm not saying to give preferential treatment. It's not what I'm trying to imply. But when people come and ask for $5,000 of taxpayer money, and we have no data, year after year to say this is justifiable, how do we get better at saying this is justifiable?
Yeah.
And these days, there's, Google Docs where you can set up you can set up a survey. If you need help with that, that is something that maybe that's for us to future maybe look at. That may be something that Caitlin and I could look at and maybe design and have a sample and show this would be easy to do, to customize and implement.
How are other
I mean, we did
cities
just-
doing it? How are other like how's Bentonville doing it? How's Rogers doing it?
They're not doing
Really interesting. They have interns.
I'm sorry?
They have interns.
Free labor.
Oh, so they look through AirDNA, and
If you would like to give me an intern for
I was
Zombie
about to say
Crawl,
we
I'll take
did spend a bunch of money on this AirDNA tool that can probably tell
Some of
us.
my students might
I
be,
sat in on a Gen Z seminar last Friday, and intern was really at the top of the list in the Gen Z world. Because if you can get a job as an intern, you may have a stepping stone into that career that you want to take. And interns really are a pretty good asset. And they're very good at these types of things, which, we consider kind of a chore, but yet on the same token, it's face-to-face communication with people in public, and that's just good data. It really is. So I think there's an opportunity and a window there that we can utilize. Basically, go ahead and do some of this research that needs to get done on the tail end, because an organizer doesn't have time to ask those questions. And I appreciate what
Sure.
Definitely
I know.
not.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think if we have, some people that are really wanting to get into for instance, the tourism business as a whole, what a grand opportunity, to really be a part of something.
Well, and also we bring this up all the time about extra help and how much you guys do. Like, y'all work constantly, and with the 4 of you, you're still, or 5 of you, you're still working more than you should. And every time we ask you about hiring somebody else, you say, no, we got it. But I mean, an intern, especially for events, like reach out to the U of A and see if there's event coordinators.
I happen to
that-
know a marketing instructor at U of A.
Yeah,
Connections.
So, I mean, that's,
yeah.
we,
I think, yeah, that's a
maybe
great
that's the answer to we're not hiring somebody, but
Right.
like,
Think Gen Z.
Yeah. Another important question on that application is, how did you hear about this event? I mean, that tells us, is our advertising working?
Yeah.
Is it word of mouth? Is it television? Is it, internet?
Repeat visitor.
Yeah.
As a collector and a
Repeat visitor.
lodging owner, I like to ask my guests what brought them to me. Why are they staying at my place? So that's an option too. It's not always going to be consistent, but we could attempt to try to find out if they are driven by an event or something to let you know kind of what feels successful.
Great. Next.
All right,
Question?
save the controversial one for last.
Oh, good.
So the score sheet, I have a couple of questions on.
Oh, got it. Up here, your score sheet.
You guys hadn't discussed it yet, so I didn't know if you'd already discussed it at a previous workshop.
We have.
Okay, you have? Okay. Colin, super agree with you about interns, super disagree with you about nonprofits. Zombie Crawl's not a nonprofit, for example, but it is a canned food drive, but it's under an LLC, but I don't charge an admission fee. So how would you treat that? Like something where it's a free event, but it is an LLC. The only way it makes money is merchandise and as people sponsor it. That's the only way that it brings in for-profit income.
Right. And again, I think that's a great workshop.
yeah, it's,
It is an interview.
Well, just asking because it's on the score sheet here twice, actually. Event, public service, and then is it a charity or philanthropy? Those sound like kind of the same thing to me.
Right.
Just something to think about.
And
Thank you.
that does
Yeah.
become a slippery slope. in a
Yeah,
lot of
I mean, I
ways.
want to say this. I do agree. I think that, you talked about Jeep Jam, Zombie Crawl with the food drive. Those events that are benefiting the community somehow, I do think that they should be given extra consideration. When we know that we're going to go into winter with the food bank full.
Yeah. But that's from a
the-
for-profit organization.
Right, but the other
But I
thing
don't,
is,
I shouldn't say don't care,
Yeah.
and I know that our restaurants and our lodging are full, and our retail shops.
That's it.
Sure.
Those events are our bread and butter.
That,
mean-
I'm very, very prone to say, yes, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, just bringing it up since we're doing like an official scoring sheet, something to think about, that some of the events that are beneficial may be for-profit.
And that
but-
may be the alternative is giving a higher score for nonprofits.
Right, right.
to be frank, I've never seen a single funding request ever use the score as a guideline for giving the funding.
It is mainly for just the director and the commission
I was
to
gonna say,
kind
we
of get a
used it.
good base understanding.
There are some in here, in this. in
We've
this
been using
notebook.
them since
Yeah.
maybe around November.
Yeah, no, we've had this score sheet for a long time. What I'm saying is I've never seen anybody at a commission
Prepare.
say, well, they only scored this much.
That's
Should we
true.
give them $5,000?
I didn't know what score she was.
The score sheet
we have-
exists,
we-
but I've never, ever
We genuinely
seen it
have.
used as a basis for funding.
I look at it.
It's an it's
We
just a
have few
base
times,
understanding.
But I will agree, it's in more recent funding requests. It has been more recent.
All right. Anything else, sir?
Nope, I think that was it.
Thank
Just some
you.
things that I
Really?
noticed because I fill these out, right?
Appreciate
So just
it.
things I've noticed.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think on the guidelines for funding support request, that the wording is odd to
Where?
no more than 60 days after an approved funded event has ended, receipts will be accepted for reimbursement in keeping with the funding guidelines. I think that could be worded in a more concise way that, like, down
Okay,
towards the
tell me
bottom.
one more time.
It's down under number 4, guidelines, on the first page, the guidelines for funding support request, down at the very bottom.
Got it? Okay,
Okay.
I'll find a better wording.
So it just says no more than 60 days. Yeah, I feel like it could say something more concise, like receipts must be,
Yep.
turned in within 60 days of the event taking place or something, and you'll find the form here, or something like that, instead of
Yeah,
kind
just the wording
of
of it.
flip-flopping it to where you have this, then no more than 60 days after the approved funded event. And then I think saying will be accepted makes it sound almost like, we will, but we might not. I think it just needs to be direct.
Okay.
That's
I'll-
just my thought.
That's one of the sentences that started turning my eyes
I
outside.
understand.
Sure.
I understand. I just thought it could be just,
Absolutely.
You will be pleased to
Thank
know
you.
that I don't think any of this went into AI.
Heck no.
You meant what you knew. That's what I.
But I think that your point is well taken, though. I think in this particular case, we were debating whether it's 60 or 90 days.
Yeah, sure.
And the point was, let's spur this thing along, let's don't lag it out, because if you get too far behind, you may forget. Well, you may not forget, but the
Well,
point
looking-
being, we need to go ahead and keep business as business.
right.
I'll reword that.
It's one of the things that when I was helping with an event that I looked for immediately and found. I just think the wording could be clear-cut to just say.
Perfect.
Receipts must be turned in by 60 days
I
after
think
your
when
event.
she bullet points number 4, it will look a lot better.
Yeah.
We can do that.
So,
Okay, so this whole packet, then, this is meant to really, I hope it's going to simplify, clarify, and make it less ambiguous for us all.
Thank you all for
looks
the
good.
work.
So we'll vote on it the next meeting, our meeting?
Does it need a vote? I don't think it needs a vote. I
This is
don't,
procedure
it's
versus.
just a
Just legal review.
The only other thing I'd like to see is, like, at the bottom of the funding sheet, you have revised February 2024.
Oh.
Just have that on all the sheets.
What I'll do, and based upon your request, Colin, I'll go ahead and send this over to Watkins and have them do
Oh.
a once-over once we get the thing completed. And that way we can say, well, attorneys looked at it, this is what they say, and then you'll have that draft or that final to go ahead and approve. So,
Okay,
The only
Okay.
other thing that when I was helping with an event for this that was confusing to me was if it includes direct mailings, but whether or not postage fell under that as well. So that might be something to consider, is do we need to spell out whether or not postage for direct mailings is also covered? Just thought.
should,
yeah, I mean, it should.
yeah.
That
Yep.
was what we came to, but instead of people wondering, might
Right.
need to be spelled out.
67 cents for a first-class letter?
Hey,
Is that-
they.
78 cents now.
I was still back when it was a nickel.
that nail's been so long.
I remember dying.
Time flies. Legacy event. Anyone
Legacy
wanna
event.
discuss it? Okay, so number 5 on the guidelines for funding support request is a new category and
Proposed.
proposed category that, and it came up considering those that have been established, recurring, expected, anticipated events that have to come back annually to ask for. Can we go ahead and have a standard of classification that this now is considered a legacy event. We already have a line item in our budget for legacy event funding, knowing what they are going into the budget design, and not require them to have to fill out the application and come back annually. We already know them, they're there, and then for some reason, if that event doesn't happen that year, for whatever various reasons may happen, we're not out the money just doesn't get spent. It's still there.
I think there still needs to be some kind of paper trail and agreement because we are giving them advertising dollars and they do have to submit for reimbursement. So I don't know that it has to be as, this, but I still do think it should say, I'm agreeing to the guidelines and I'm agreeing to submit for reimbursement and I'm agreeing.
They still follow all the rules, right?
They still have, but I
So-
do think we should have something in
and-
writing.
So that's why what we would do is, okay, so legacy events, this is just generic, and I'm going to let you jump in, Mr. Mike, when you get your voice. A repeated event leaving behind a lasting positive impact on the community. That defines legacy. Then we had generates 10K in tourism tax dollars. Now that's just an arbitrary number that might be a standard bearer for us to discuss. Pre-approved by the CAPC during the annual budget review process, must submit a post-event summary annually for subsequent annual approval by the CAPC. So it's not just once you've been deemed legacy, it's annual from there on. We need a post-event. You occurred, it happened, and we know it, and do you plan on doing it the next year before we move forward, is kind of the thinking.
My understanding is then basically what you're saying is they no longer would have to come as a legacy and make a presentation
Correct.
and be approved, but they still have to follow all the documentation and the steps that follow. The question that I have about that is, and I realize that this is general and it's just being processed right now, but would we have to delineate what constitutes a legacy as far as a time period? Because if I'm doing a second event, am I really a legacy person, or does it take 5 years to figure out what an event really can look like? So is there a time frame that we decide at this point you've earned legacy status that keeps you from having to come and do this? I think that
And that
would
is
be
exactly
necessary.
why we're having this workshop, because we batted it around. Should it be 5 years? Should it be 3 years? Should it be 10 years? I don't know. Let's discuss that and let's go ahead and put that in there. We can define that.
Sure.
For the impact. And what happens is this will cut down on the amount of
The quarterly meetings.
the quarterly meeting time, the presentations, we already know it type of thing.
Well,
So if I'm understanding this correctly, what we're doing is taking the funding and instead of the commissioners doing it on a meeting-by-meeting basis, we are saying that you guys get to choose if they are still a legacy event and whether they are approved for this year.
No.
That's what it says.
No.
By annual approval by
Right,
the
but-
CAPC. So we're taking that approval out of our hands,
No.
putting
No.
it into the office.
What we're going to do, we're thinking about, we're just offering this as an option, to take the market funding line item in the budget and split it into 2 line items. Have regular market funding and legacy market funding, and just split that budget. And so, in the budget review process in January or December, whenever we start looking at the budget for next year, part of that legacy budget will have a breakdown of who is a legacy and how much we're wanting to do. And so that's going to be part of the budget approval process. The commission will vote on
Just
what
by the
gets
commission.
approved.
So either way, the board, the commission is still going to
Yeah.
The commission.
look at the individual event and
Right.
approve it anyway.
Right, you'll just
So the
approve it at the
same-
beginning of the year instead of having them come to the meeting.
And I think that's real important to point out that we need to watch our wording, CAPC approval. CAPC is City of Austin, City Advertising Promotion Commission, still living in Austin here. And the commission. So it's CAPC approval is not Mike and Danielle approving this. It is commission approval.
Correct.
So I don't want us to get in trouble with, okay, we thought we had the right to approve this, didn't have to bring it to the commission.
You want me to, I can spell that out, absolutely.
Spell it out.
I can
How dare they
specify
be
that.
spelled out, so we know this has to come to the commission for approval.
Yep,
Like by a quorum.
okay. So,
This was probably the most difficult thing that we talked about, literally, because, the word legacy itself, is an ambiguous term. In this particular sense, what we're trying to do is take a look at events that have had super success over a period of time. And we used to have in, I think, the documentation, we didn't want to fund anything more than 3 years, okay?
Right.
That unto itself is a little bit of a problem when you have an event that maybe brings in, and I'll use one example because I know what the number is, $22,000 in tax revenue for that event. That's a pretty good event when you have that kind of an event. I won't say it out loud, but we have had an event that will generate that much money in tax revenue. So when you take a look at that, is that a legacy event? And it's been going on for quite a while, longer than 20 years? I would say yes. On the same token, an event that is starting to get legs underneath it, that's been going on for 2 years or 3 years, may have the potential to become a legacy event. That's for the commission to decide, what is a legacy event? So you may want to, just take a look at that criteria.
and it may be a goal for these events to grow and achieve that status. So, I mean, if it's 7 years,
Right.
I mean, it's, whatever it is, but we have some very well-established.
My feeling is as a tax collector, I don't mind my tax dollars going to support an event that's been here 100 years if it's driving heads and beds and meat and seats. I mean, we're getting that back, and it's advertising is all we support anyway. So it's not like they can go out and do something like, oh, I've been here so long that, I mean, it's not like these are big money making. The money making is in bringing people here with the advertisement. These are not for expenses toward the event. So you can't use it for decorations or, whatever. So why does it matter? I guess I just don't get why length matters. I just care that people are coming and staying at my place and eating at Collins Restaurant. That's all.
It will matter to some people.
Yeah, and I think it matters, especially like we've had events that have been several year-long events, legacy events, let's call them legacy events that stop existing. I mean,
Yeah.
But then
that's
you-
what I'm looking at.
but then you
Like,
wouldn't be
I'm
showing
not worried
these-
about the zombie crawl.
Sure. No, I guess
if
what
he
I'm
came
saying
up
is-
on the podium and asked for 2026's money today, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'm going to vote yes.
I guess what I was
But-
thinking is the metrics here would spell out that you have to be successful repeatedly or you no longer qualify as that.
I'm just trying to see the point.
Well,
Like, the point is to split the money up,
Mm-hmm.
but what's the point of splitting the money up?
I think
It's a
that
funding request for an event,
Well, it's just-
whether it's under the legacy event category or whether it's under the funding request. So is it to split them up or is it to save our time? Because either way, I feel like we should all review whether or not that event went well or whether it's going to happen next year before we go ahead and allocate this money. I mean, it's going to that we're going to approve it one way or another. The funds are going to get allocated one way or another. What's the real benefit of separating?
Well, the
these?
point was kind of to streamline, we're trying to streamline the request process because it's getting overwhelming. And so we thought, well, we have these same events that come every year that are very successful. Do they really need to have to come every year and take 20 minutes in a meeting? Or do we do that at the beginning when we're doing our budget review process and review those specific ones and pre-approve them basically for that year?
Right, and so either way, we're gonna approve them, and I would hope that we'd at least spend 20 minutes on each one, because this is up to $5,000 that we're talking about, and so like I don't have an issue with it, but I'm kind of like asking myself, what's the point?
And
I
there
see
might
your
not be.
point.
So it's just, we just thought it might be helpful. We're presenting as an option.
To your point, I think maybe perhaps the answer is more streamlining it so that when they do come as legacy events, we don't have the questions toggled around between us as a commission about things like, should we be continuing legacy events? Maybe it's more important that we just kind of clearly figure out that, yes, we are going to, as long as legacy events meet XYZ term, maybe there needs to be a different set of metrics or something that
'Cause I
we
would-
review these legacy events with that cuts down that process and makes it easier so that then we don't have one person who's like, well, I think 3 years is enough to support Zombie Crawl. And then somebody else is like, but Zombie Crawl puts, I mean,
Maybe we can ask one of our vast audience members out there. if they
Because
have
of the,
any
and there's a turnover, of commissioners. And so there seems to be this re-explaining, why they're here, why are they being approved again, and why. And so this happens every 2 years. And so this will help cut that down as well, because they're already established.
Yeah.
And they're well established. We're not talking about borderline events. We're talking well-established events that contribute to the economy of our town. But they would must hold to funding request guidelines. They would skip the application, but that, what is it? Let me see what that's called. The marketing checklist.
Have to sign that.
We would have them sign that and say, hey, because if we've updated it, like if we've got a new logo or if we've got something new, we'd say, okay, so here's what we need to make sure that y'all remember to do. Here are some details. Sign this and make sure that you turn in your reimbursement form. Here's the updated one. And then we need your post-event report in order for us to,
They follow all the rules.
So,
But I wonder, though, if it's not budget-wise, though, by saying we have these 5 legacy events and we're going to give them $5,000 each, that we take $25,000 and put it over here that nobody else can touch.
Correct.
And it's held for them. And right now, that's not a problem, but in the future, when our budgeting gets tighter, we live in an interesting world right now that may change, and we may have to say, we have to make cuts somewhere. And of course, we could change that.
That's a good point. You could separate the funding so that it's allocated specifically for these. I
think what I have a hard time with is the idea that we would, I'm going to use the word penalize these events because they've existed for 3 years, but they've proven that they're helping our businesses and our towns. And it's not, and I keep banging on this drum, but it is not just the lodging and the restaurants. It's also the retail shops. When I walk downtown and I see it full, I'm just like, that's these events. Like, it's so gratifying. And to think that we would, as a body, say, well, you've existed for 3 years, we're not going to fund that, when the dividends are, just, I have a hard time with that. And I don't, and I respect exactly what you're saying, but there's certain events that I don't feel we need to spend 20 minutes on. I feel that we do know that they're going to fill beds, shops, and restaurants. And I'm not saying, I do think we need to discuss it. Absolutely. I think we need to vote on it. All of that. But if we're planning and we're road mapping for just 1 year, I think it's fair at the beginning of 2026 to say we're funding these 5, whatever it is. Yes, off the top. I mean, tell me, poke holes in what I'm saying, but I just feel like there are events that we know they're going to fill our town.
on top
there's
of that,
there's no question about that. And I wasn't saying that we don't fund events that have been here for 3 years or more. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying what is the difference between a legacy event and a funding event? Obviously, the definition of what we defined here, number 5. But at the end of the day, what are we doing as a board? We're looking at them, we're looking at their event, and we're saying, yes, you deserve $5,000. It can be easier, but also, This isn't a very hard application. Is this a hard application? No, it's not. It's not. And so, like, you want a simplified application because I don't care what we do. That person needs every single year to fill out an application. It needs to be on paper. We're not just going to come up here as a board and say, Zombie Crawl is getting $5,000 whether they want it or not. Like, they need to come to us
don't get
and
it whether
fill
you want
out a
it or
piece
not
of
agree
anyway.
that
paper.
there
have
needs
to-
to be a request.
There
but I-
needs to be some form of this. Like, we
Some
can't just say, we're going to
accountability for
give
the-
you
I mean,
guys
that's
money.
fair.
Sure.
I agree
And
with
so,
that.
like,
Fair.
so back to the point, I think Steve made the best example of what really separates what we're trying to do. We're trying to separate the dollars and say, these legacy events, if 800 people came in here and took up all of our funding, Zombie Crawl is still going to get his money near the end of the year because he doesn't come to us in January. So if everyone came in February and took all of our marketing requests, legacy events would still have money.
That's earmarking.
And that's fine. Like that's what I'm trying to get at is what's the difference between what we already do for the funding request and what we would do different for the legacy events. Because they still need an application. We still need to approve them, and we still need to look and see how they did.
Do you recall, it's been some time ago, that we had a meeting with a group of people that came up here and they killed about 30 minutes of your time, and they asked for about $197. That could have been a legacy event. And I think what we're doing right now is we're setting this bar at $5,000 up here, when in fact what we really need to do with these groups that maybe are legacy is say, what do you need? You know, what is it that's going to make you successful? If it's really a great legacy event, they probably don't need the money because of just the status quo that they already have within the community is something that's supported and helped out. On the same token, it's good to go ahead and take that money, depending on what it is, to market the event because, again, for every dollar spent, we would like to get $2 back somehow, some way. That's just a good investment in our money.
So
And I
that's,
think what we need to be careful of is using the bar of everybody that comes in here is asking for 5,000, even though it seems that way. But on the same token, I do know that there's other organizations out there that probably can get by with 1,000.
Yeah,
You know, just because of the postage money or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. So everyone needs to be evaluated. I agree with you.
to
Yeah,
that point.
So that's all I was getting at was like, if we're going to separate them, like, what's the point? Why are we going through all these extra steps to do these things?
The dis-
It's conversation.
Is there,
The distinction is a time saver. That's what it is. So the question really is it really saving time? I mean, is it worth it? We're still going to file, we're going to have them on file. We're going to have a record of the event. We're going to hold them to the same guidelines as everybody else. You know, is it worth setting it aside and just having it and saving steps and time here and their time coming to here? What? It's up. I mean, is it a goal I saw it as more of a growth goal, another advantage of growing your event
yeah.
to the point where you are having such an impact for so many years that you reach legacy status as an encourager for an event organizer. I saw it from that aspect and thought that might be something that's, you know, instead of, I just love dandelions. I want to have a dandelion festival and, you know, and trying it and it never comes, you know, but wait, I love it so much. Wait, I could be a legacy. Maybe we can build on this and we become a fractal garden weekend. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. But it's encouraging maybe to grow, to reach that status.
Shira?
I was just thinking about it. Maybe it has less to do about whether we vote for it or not and more just about defining a legacy event to minimize in our talk here as a commission when these legacy events do come up with their proposal or for voting, maybe we have just a clearer cut guideline of what that is. So then it is easier to go ahead and move those along quickly. You know, since it doesn't really, like, as you pointed out, Colin, it doesn't necessarily save all that much time. We know zombie crawl is effective, and so when they come up, filling out the form and presenting is just a few moments, but maybe it keeps one of us from being like, well, zombie crawl's been here for 10 years or something. Do we still really want to fund that? And then somebody else is like, well, of course we do, But if we had it delineated and we're like, well, they make over X amount, they've been here 10 years, they meet these certain qualifications. Glad they're here, they showed up, they did their due diligence.
So possibly we could put legacy events on the non-4 months of funding, because it wouldn't take a lot of time.
Gotcha.
And like I said, whenever it comes up, we're not going to, your first funding request was probably your longest funding request?
For Zombie Crawl?
Yeah.
Well, I picked it up after it had been going on for a while.
Oh, okay.
But you're correct,
But,
it's
I
not
mean-
hard to fill out the form, and that just keeps them accountable, like here, they're doing their thing, then they could say, oh yeah, I'm expecting some money from the CAPC that's going to help us out. You should have to do some work, it's not so hard.
I do like that idea better than having it voted on as far as with the budget. Because when we're going through the budget, we've got so much going on. The last thing we need to be doing is looking at legacy events and how successful they are. And whenever we vote on the budget in October, November, it's not necessarily the same board that's going to be there
Right.
in July when he might come up and ask for his legacy event to get funded.
Well, what I don't care for is when we all sit here and toggle back and forth at meetings, one person's opinion about what should be done. I get that some of that happens anyway, but really, it makes
I feel
it
like
seem
we
sort of.
spent 30 minutes talking about Jeep Jam and we funded it, and it was unnecessary. And again, that's
what
my
I think.
opinion.
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
If you have it-
We could save us some time, but
Also, you could look at the funding, I said, we're taking these legacy events and putting this money aside, but, that's kind of a good idea, too, is we don't want to get to the end of the year and go, oh, no, now we've run out of money, we don't have
Yeah.
even money for these legacy events anymore that's coming up to the end of the year. So having those in the budget set out already on a line item says we don't have to worry about that part of it. Now we just worry about the little events that are coming up to asking us and say, at some point we can say, we're out of money. This is it. We're not going to be able to fund anymore.
Yeah, we had.
so we do 2 legacy event funding requests a year, and everyone who has legacy events can come up, and we've got X amount of dollars allocated for legacy events.
How many are there? Legacy
That's
events.
what
We
we
have
have to
classified.
decide.
Yeah.
And is it 5 years? Is
We
it
have it
10
classified.
years?
That's a good idea, but if there's 20 of them,
Yeah.
that's going to be a long meeting.
Well, what we also need to figure out, because right now we have $100,000 dedicated to funding requests, are we suddenly going to have 5 legacy events and only $75,000 for
Yeah.
funding requests? Or are we going to have
Moving into-
$25,000 and now our total funding request is $125K?
But
So
should
that's
we-
another.
But the question is,
that's the- I think
should we
that's the
prioritize the
conversation
legacy
we should
events?
have in the budgetary season.
So the money should be there.
Yeah. I'm looking
Yeah.
at this and I'm like, this is just for it's double-sided and this is just for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we are getting so many more events that are being started and coming to town. One question that I had was for Ty. Let me go back to so the market funding support spreadsheet that's in our binders. When we start doing 2026 budgeting, all these, are we looking at them and saying, we're going to assume they're going to ask for money again, and we project 2026 based on what we funded or what they spent?
Event summary.
We've just
Do
been
you
going
plan on
by,
holding your event next year?
we've just been going by what we've budgeted the previous year and
Because
seeing,
we had
it's like,
both.
that's why we reduced it this year, because we were trying to narrow the budget, and so we
Yeah.
reduced it a little bit, but we've upped it again, so.
Right.
So that's just an arbitrary number of what we've been doing, basically. It's not based on historical numbers.
I think it's sort of like, what's our evidence-based decision? What's our data? And I'm having a hard time with not having, it's like, what is the data that we're using to decide how we approach 2026?
Last year.
And so will that be 2025?
So we need to figure out how many legacy events we have. And then it probably needs to be standard that they are the top 4 events from the previous year.
Define it.
Well, I mean, what
Are
if,
they established after, are
Again,
they,
I think-
are
well,
they
we get to choose
repeating?
that.
I
We
think
we get to
that's
choose
what they really
that. But like,
delineated those.
so if,
Is 7 years fair? Is 7 years too much?
Well, how many-
Is 5 years
how many
repeating?
would we
Or is it
have if
dollar
we just looked at the ones we have now?
Look at the list that you've got right there
Does
for
Mr.
2024,
Akins have the
2025,
ability to give
in your
us
binder. In your binder.
like a report of, Mr. Akins is, I'm sorry, am I saying his name wrong? Our city finance director,
Michael?
Michael Akins, Mr. Akins, can he give us a report that
Yeah,
shows
but which of those
what
would
the
be considered
CAPC,
legacy?
like we get that, we get the CAPC tax dollars, but can he give us a report that shows us what retail
What
collection?
sales tax numbers were? Only to the month. Now, here is the problem, and this is the one situation that's rolling around my brain, and I'll try to be 30 seconds or less. We do have a system right now where we can go back and take a look at day by day by day by day and see what visitation is. You know, and again, it's coming from lodging, not necessarily from restaurants or retail. But the sales tax reports are only the aggregate number of the month of June, the month of July. So we can't really segregate, for instance, an event per se and say it was successful financially. We just don't know that. We can assume, but that's the problem. We're making that assumption and we really can't be specific about it. I think the biggest problem that we will have in this endeavor is that the public's right to know is who's getting the money and who's not. And if we start to segregate this a little bit, it may be problematic. Now, somebody says, well, gosh, I've got a legacy event. How come I didn't get considered? Okay, well, then what's the appeal process? That we get into all kinds of tactics at that point. My suggestion at this point is probably to suggest is that we do have a pot of money, so to speak, that would go to a type of legacy event. But it's purely your discretion as to how that money is going to be allocated. So if you don't want it to go that way, that's fine. It's just a matter of really, is it meritorious enough? And that was the reason for the scoring sheet a long time ago, was to come up with what do you think the potential sales tax revenue is going to be for that event for lodging and restaurants. And if it was $10, then you don't get 5,000, you know. But there are those events that did, you know, seem to rise to the level. So I've taken my 30 seconds.
So Danielle just marked out 7
Possibilities.
possible legacy events. So I think that's the start of the whole thing. It's like, how many are we doing? How do we define whether they're a legacy event? What are the rules they need to continue to be a legacy event and get funding? I like the idea of earmarking the money, but is it extra money, or are we taking it out of the rest of the funding requests? So I think there's a lot to be hashed out still about.
Or does it even
Legacy
need to be
events.
earmarked, and is the purpose just to delineate that these are successful events so that we have less question at the time of voting? I mean, you know.
And two, if a legacy event decides, I'm doing so well, I don't need that money, but they already have it earmarked for me, so I should go ahead and pick it up. It's like,
I mean, nobody's going to
Turn it away.
not nobody's going to turn away $5,000 because even though it's only used for advertising or promotion,
Pride did not come,
if I didn't have to spend $5,000,
Pride
it would be
didn't come.
profit,
yeah, Pride did not come up for
then that's
5,000.
money in my pocket.
I was going to
Pride did
mention
not come up
that.
for funding this year.
That there were, I was downtown, it was very busy. And yeah, they didn't ask. So
Nope.
I think that, but will they come next year? And so that's sort of the.
They came last year, but not
and
this
so,
year, so.
yeah.
Last year was the first year, wasn't it?
Yep,
That's right.
Yeah.
They all still need to apply
yeah.
Right, of course.
because we could have said, oh, yeah, Eureka Pride's going to want $5,000 because they're a legacy event. And then,
But if
I mean-
they don't, then that money is there.
yeah, but we'd rather
You know.
spend the money to promote and advertise than to
But let's say that.
have extra money at the end of the year.
Let's say that we've anticipated an event to come that we've categorized as legacy, and that time comes and goes, and they did not utilize, then can we just put it in our
Yeah, well-
understanding that we'll shift those, and that will be available in our regular pool?
Yeah,
of-
let's do.
So it's not like it's untouchable for the year, but that might be something where if we are needing it shifted, it can be shifted.
Yeah. And I think to be financially responsible is be budget driven. How much money do we have?
Yeah.
And we want to balance the budget this year. So we may be looking at a less amount of money to do these funding requests. So I think that may be a factor in helping us decide this, you know. So when are we going to have our first budget review for next year or start the budget?
We've started working on it. When we want to schedule it, so.
We need to start making some decisions, right? Yeah. For our next workshop for next month, budget.
Fine. Yeah, we've already
September.
had some deep conversations.
So I think maybe putting this on hold until we look at the budget and saying, how much money do we have? Because we may making some tough decisions to turn people down, so.
Yeah, I think there just needs to be some things fleshed out between, like, the difference between a legacy event and a non-legacy event is obvious, but the process, the funding, the allocation, I think that all needs to be fleshed out a little bit more.
I think you're right. I think it should be part of the budget discussion.
Okay? Fair.
Okay, Rick Springs History Museum. It's on the agenda. Mike gave me a blank look.
That's you.
Well, the topic came up, I guess, by request that we have a conversation about this, and I think it came up last meeting in reference to, number one, every year for some time, we funded the museum to $7,200 a year, $600 a month. And then at the same time, because the museum basically operates on fundraising and other things, that I think it has come into question, what do we do with the museum as a whole? And I know there's conversations back and forth. Are they a visitor center? Are they not a visitor center? Depends on who you ask, actually. They probably do a better job at substantiating the fact that people come into the visitor center every month by their analytics. We know that. I think, are blessed to have them because of their, talk about a legacy organization. They are undoubtedly one of the premier visitation places that people enjoy going to and then having a good experience by. But because of the fact they come back and ask for other funds for Long-Haired Ball, Jailbird Ball, Voices, and so forth, are they still under that guise of they need to come back and make a funding request? Do we continue to fund them through the line item that we have? I mean, I think it's just a question that we want to take a look at. And I don't think that we've had internally an answer to that, really, because it's one of those subjective things. But on the same token, I think we look at the merits of what they do. We consider them, important facet of the city of Eureka Springs and want to continue their success. So I think it's just really a matter of we put them on the agenda by request to really just kind of have this exploration, if you will, for a few minutes to talk about what they do. I know Jeff probably could not be here tonight, but he will probably speak very succinctly to what they provide.
I think that is actually one source of data that we have at our fingertips for this town. And I very much am in favor of that conversation.
Sorry, what decision?
I'm just very in favor of having that conversation about the museum. I think that they keep data, and I think that that's data that we could use and take a look at to inform some of our decisions. And it's worth that. It's worth us discussing and asking Jeff if he would come and discuss with us.
I think it's a great idea to have Jeff come talk to us again, budget time. We need to be making these decisions based on budget and stuff, and maybe he come to us and state his case for why we should maintain this $600 a month.
He does provide visitor data every month, and I can compile that for you if you'd like to
Okay.
see it.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is just whether we should fund some of the historic museum?
I think it falls within basically our budget conversations for the upcoming year as we go into 2026. And I think that, the line items that we have, every one of those probably needs to be evaluated in terms of just these events that we call, our Youth May Festival of the Arts is one. We fund them, without really a lot of to-do. We assume that they do a good job, and we know that they do. But on the same token, they don't have to come back and request. We just give them a line item and then go for it. The same holds true, I think, for some other things that we also fund as well. So this budget review process.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that
Budget discussion.
that as far as our guidelines for CAPC using funds, it's a tourist item, museums or tourism. So I don't think there'd be any issue.
Right.
Right.
Do you want us to have that on a September meeting time? Or do you want him to
August
come to
meeting?
workshop?
Come to the August meeting?
You want him to come to the August meeting? I can ask him.
We're going to do budget the next workshop.
Yeah, he's probably got long hair invasion report. He said it was great.
No,
It
the
was fun.
pictures were so good.
Yeah, he's probably very favorable. Yeah, I can ask him.
All right. Workshop be budget next month. I have to look up the date, make sure we're all put it on the calendar. So the workshop will be
The 10th?
the 10th.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
We have commissioners who aren't here, so I don't know that we're comfortable making this decision.
Hold on a second. And then the regular meeting will be on the,
August the 27th? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. No, well, I know our next meeting, but then I'm thinking about September meeting.
Oh,
It'll be the 24th, yeah.
yep, 24th.
So the
September.
27th of this month is our next meeting. Next month will be the 24th. Just so I want to everybody put it on their calendar.
Okay.
And you talked about the times?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a commissioner who's having an issue with our time and would ask us if we can adjust it. We can't make decisions here, but actually through our bylaws, as chair, I make the decision on the time, the meetings, and the location of the meetings, not the commission. So I will take input from people and make a decision on change in time if that's something people can be okay with. So just give me feedback. Is 4 or 5 o'clock? Anybody have any preferences? Just give
4 might be a little early. 4 might be a little early in the workday.
5 o'clock? Shira, 5 o'clock?
Figure it out, whatever.
Listen, I want to acknowledge the commission and the staff do not revolve around my time, and if I can figure things out, I don't,
But we are volunteers.
Sure, it's me.
We want to be considerate and accommodating if possible. So for staff?
Earlier in the day
if
is
5
fine.
o'clock is okay?
Yes, yes. My dog.
Colton, 5 o'clock? And I already asked David, he said, that's fine, go earlier. So
Okay, so are we doing that on both workshops and meetings going forward?
I think the
then?
consistency would be nice, so we don't
Yeah.
start.
Get out of here
I
with
can
time to
update
eat
my
dinner
calendar
still.
now.
We could update our calendar now for 5 o'clock on workshops and meetings through December, and next year we can change.
So do we want to start that as August 27th, 5 o'clock, or
Yes.
in September?
No, August 27th.
You got it.
Okay?
So the only
Thank
thing
you.
I will say about meetings is one of the reasons we do meetings at 6 o'clock is because we want the public to be able to show up, and doing a meeting on a workday during work hours makes it harder for that to happen.
Right.
So I do want to throw that out there.
The 5 o'clock is still kind of
Yeah.
at the end of the workday. It's not.
Exactly. They're getting, like, most people would get off work at 5, which would make it hard to get to the meeting at 5. So
I always pointed
do
out,
wanna-
we
that's
have moved
probably
our-
why they're set to 6.
We moved our time around before in the past, and there's been arguments of having it during the day because some of the restaurants and stuff, that's their busy time in the evenings, so they're not going to leave the restaurant at 5 or 6 o'clock.
No time's going to be great for everyone.
Right.
Could we also move public comments, maybe a few items in, or so, like,
Yeah.
would there be any way to shift that kind of thing so that if they are having to stumble in?
Yeah, I was thinking with the daylight also becoming shorter and it getting darker earlier in the fall, people might be more amenable
Right.
as well.
If we have a number of people who object to this, we can always change it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Just come in.
I just wanted to think about
Yell
the
at, just yell at me.
For the
we
workshop,
can
I don't
ask the
think it's as big a
crowd
deal, but
how they feel.
All the people that showed up
Yeah.
for the
Right.
6 o'clock meeting.
And they have class at 7:30.
Unless something blows up, we don't usually have a lot of people showing up to our meetings.
Originally at 5.
Thank you very much for your feedback on our packet.
it works better.
Thank you for all the
Thank
work
you
you
very
did on it. You
much.
did a great job here.
Why they're at 6 is for the public to be able to.
Yeah, there we go. I know. All right, I think our workshop is done. Thank you all for
Okay.
attending.
Thank you.
For volunteering. And we are good to go. Thank you.
Thanks,